The Shahed 136 one-way drone is moving through the night with a clear objective. It knows where it needs to go. Flying low over the sand dunes of eastern Syria, it follows the shape of the terrain, staying only a few feet above the ground to remain below long-range radar coverage. It is 3 a.m. and the base is completely dark. Every light is off. A full blackout is in effect. Then the drone steadies its wings and moves directly toward Hangar 4. 2 hours earlier, that hangar was empty. But not long before the incident, a highly classified electronic warfare pod had been moved inside. The transfer was supposed to be invisible. No phones, no signals, no digital trail, and yet somehow the drone found the exact door at the exact moment. It came in fast, and the impact lit up the night with a sharp orange flash. The roof of the hangar collapsed inward. The classified pod was lost. The quiet of the desert disappeared in an instant, replaced by alarms, smoke, and the sound of chaos spreading across the base. That was the moment everyone understood the same thing. The opposing side had not guessed our location. They had been watching from above. The base did not wake up slowly, it snapped into motion. The ground began to shake as the first battery of M142 HIMARS vehicles rolled into firing position. Seconds later, the night filled with a deep roar as 6 rockets launched from their rails. These were not random shots into the darkness. The launch point had been identified. Each rocket cut through the sky like a line of fire, traveling at nearly 2,500 miles per hour. Above the base, 2 F-15E Strike Eagles lifted off almost immediately. They stayed low, accelerated hard, and broke the sound barrier. The shockwave rolled across the nearby town, rattling buildings and shattering windows. Their mission was clear: find the next wave before it reached the base. Then it appeared on the screen, 30 drones flying low and close together over the sand, moving like a swarm across the radar display. The lead F-15E fired 4 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles in quick succession. Each one left the aircraft with a sharp crack and raced toward the formation. 5 miles away, the drones began to break apart in the air, turning into flashes of fire and scattered debris. Every missile found its mark, but the relief lasted only seconds. For every group intercepted, more appeared on the radar. This was not a single attack. It was a wave. To the west, a MIM-104 Patriot battery joined the fight. A PAC-3 interceptor launched with a sharp hiss, climbing rapidly toward a much larger threat. A Fateh 110 ballistic missile dropping from high altitude. The two met at 40,000 feet. The flash was so bright, it looked as if the sun had started rising ahead of schedule. But as the debris fell, radar operators noticed something even more alarming. The drones were changing course. They were adjusting their paths to avoid radar coverage. They were moving through the blind spots, finding the gaps we thought were hidden. 50 miles away, the HIMARS rockets reached the launch site. The desert floor became a field of craters and twisted metal. But the damage had already been done. Hangar 4 was gone. The classified system inside it was gone with it. And the secret we thought we were protecting was no longer secret. We believed the darkness was hiding us. But to someone above, the lights had been on the entire time. And now the question was unavoidable. How did they know? For years, we believed the desert was too vast, too empty, too difficult to monitor completely. We moved at night because we thought only our satellites could truly see through the dark. The opposing side did not need to build a new space program. They did not have to launch massive rockets of their own. They simply paid for access. With a credit card and the right connection, they turned to China and gained access to a satellite network known as Jilin-1. Jilin-1 is not a single satellite. It is a growing network of more than 100 advanced cameras moving around the Earth, constantly watching from orbit. For the people directing Iranian missile units, the Middle East has become something close to a live high-definition broadcast. These satellites can detect objects smaller than a yard across. To understand how sharp that is, imagine standing in New York and being able to spot a golf ball sitting on the grass in Washington, D.C., more than 200 miles away. That is the level of detail we are talking about. China provides the eyes in orbit. Iran provides the firepower on the ground. And that changes everything. The opposing side does not need to be more advanced than us in every way. They only need access to the right feed. We are operating inside a glass house while someone outside is holding the stones. So we try to fight back with deception. If we cannot disappear, then maybe we can mislead them. We build a ghost fleet. Dozens of fake tanks and launchers are placed across the desert. They are made of rubber and plastic, but from the ground, they look convincing. We even place heat sources inside them so that, on thermal cameras, they appear alive. But the Chinese satellites are not just taking simple pictures. They are reading the scene. Jilin-1 has sensors that can tell the difference between real metal and inflated rubber. It studies the ground around the vehicles. Real tanks are heavy. They press into the sand. They leave marks. Fake ones do not. Within seconds, the system knows what is real and what is not. The Iranian commander does not waste a single round on the decoys. Instead, he redirects his Zulfiqar missiles toward a quiet patch of desert 15 miles away. To the human eye, it looks like empty sand, but under heavy camouflage nets, our real tanks are parked there. The coordinates are already locked in. The Zulfiqar missiles descend from the sky at around 3,500 miles per hour. Before the tank crews can even start their engines, 3 real vehicles are destroyed. The rubber decoys remain untouched. That is the message. We tried to fool them, and they saw through it almost instantly. We are not only being watched, we are being analyzed. Most people understand the feeling of being safe at home. You close the curtains, and it feels like the outside world can no longer see in. For those who served in the 1980s or 1990s, hiding used to be simple. Put up camouflage netting, stay off the radio, keep quiet, work in the shadows, and the shadows protected you. But the next generation is serving in a world where those shadows are disappearing. The sky itself has become part of the battlefield. It is difficult to accept that moving a truck, opening a hangar door, or shifting equipment for just a few minutes can be seen from hundreds of miles above. This is a different kind of conflict, and it demands a different kind of courage. Then the same nightmare moves from the desert to the sea. In the Persian Gulf, one of our aircraft carriers is moving at 35 miles per hour. For nearly a century, the carrier was almost untouchable. It was a floating city, a symbol of power, and in many ways, a ghost on the ocean. The ocean used to be the perfect hiding place. Finding a single ship out there was like trying to spot a needle in a pitch-black room the size of a football stadium. But that world is gone. 600 miles away, deep in the Iranian desert, a Khalij Fars anti-ship missile battery prepares to launch. The crew is not guessing. They are not searching blindly. They have a direct connection to a Jilin-1 satellite passing above our carrier. The sea, once a place of cover and uncertainty, now looks clear from orbit. Our carrier is no longer a hidden force, moving across open water. It is a large moving marker on a screen, tracked from nearly 1,000 miles away. The Khalij Fars missile rises from its launcher and climbs out of the lower atmosphere in seconds. While it is still high above the Earth, the satellite sends one more correction. The carrier has turned slightly to the left. The missile's onboard computer adjusts its course. The hunter no longer has to search for the target. The target is being highlighted by a massive eye in space. For the first time, the carrier is not the one controlling the hunt. It is the one being tracked. This is exactly what the Shadow Contract was designed to create. A coordinated strike meant to overload our defenses from every direction at once. First comes a wave of Zulfiqar missiles. They climb into the upper atmosphere, then drop toward our ships at nearly 4,000 miles per hour. Behind them come 50 Fateh 110 missiles, each one receiving updated information from Chinese satellites. On the deck of one of our destroyers, every defensive system is pushed to the limit. Our Arleigh Burke-class ships begin launching interceptors as quickly as their systems can cycle. SM-6 missiles fire from their vertical launch cells every few seconds. Each one leaves the ship at around 3,000 miles per hour, climbing toward the incoming Zulfiqar missiles. Above the water, the sky fills with streaks of light. Each successful intercept is pure force meeting force. Metal strikes metal at extreme speed, and the incoming missile breaks apart into a cloud of fragments. But the real problem is not just the danger, it is the price. Each SM-6 interceptor costs around $4.3 million. We are using them against Fateh 110 missiles that may cost only a fraction of that. Sometimes we are forced to use high-end defenses against drones that cost even less. And the satellites are watching the entire exchange. They are not only tracking our ships, they are counting our shots. They are learning how many interceptors we have left. Then another threat appears just above the surface of the water. C-802 anti-ship missiles skim across the waves, flying only about 10 feet above the sea. They try to hide in the clutter of the ocean's surface, but the ship's combat system locks onto them. ARIM-162 ESSM launches with a sharp hiss, turns hard, and races toward the lead missile. The intercept happens just 2 miles from the ship. We win that moment. But every time we fire another advanced defensive missile, we move closer to a much larger problem. The opposing side is using cheaper systems to drain our most valuable defenses. They are forcing us to spend our best tools on threats that cost far less to produce. The satellites are waiting for one thing: the moment our ships begin to run low. Then the radar shows another warning. 50 fast attack boats are moving out from the Iranian coast. They are not charging in randomly. Their timing matches the missile waves almost perfectly. The satellite network is guiding the entire picture. It tells them when our radars are overloaded. It shows them which ships are focused on the sky. It reveals where the gaps are. The coordination is precise, and the pressure is closing in from both directions at once. Missiles from above, boats from the sea. We cannot survive by simply intercepting everything that comes toward us. Sooner or later, we run out of ammunition before they run out of cheap threats. To stay alive, we have to stop chasing every missile. We have to go after the eye that is guiding them. The system guiding them is still watching us. From the carrier deck, an EA-18G Growler lifts into the night. It is not loaded for a traditional strike. Under its wings are large electronic warfare pods, built for a different kind of fight. The pilot points the aircraft's sensors upward, not toward the sea, but toward space. Then the Growler comes alive. A powerful wave of electronic noise floods the satellite frequency, trying to disrupt the connection between the Chinese satellite network and the forces using it below. At the same time, on the deck of the destroyer and from hidden positions along the shore, another system comes online. The Dazzlers. These are high-powered lasers, but the goal is not to physically damage the Jilin-1 satellite. That would risk a direct crisis with China. This is a softer method. A silent method. The Dazzler aims a concentrated beam of light directly into the satellite's camera lens. Imagine trying to drive at night while someone shines an intense flashlight straight into your eyes. You can still be there. Your car still works. But for that moment, you cannot see the road. From hundreds of miles above Earth, the satellite's clear view of the Gulf turns into a blank white screen. The live picture disappears. In one instant, the shadow contract is broken. 600 miles away, the Iranian missile crews lose their connection. Their displays fill with static. The clean tracking data is gone. In the air, the Fateh 110 missiles lose their updates. Without the eye in orbit, they no longer know exactly where the carrier is. They try to adjust on their own, but they are no longer being guided with the same precision. Their paths begin to drift. Instead of finding the carrier, they miss by miles and fall into the open water. Another Zulfagar missile, its guidance disrupted by electronic interference, veers far away from its intended course and comes down harmlessly in empty desert. Then the fast boats lose their coordination. A minute earlier, they were moving like one connected system, each group knowing when to advance, where to turn, and which ship to pressure. Now they are blind. Without satellite guidance, their timing falls apart. Their formation begins to break. Boats cut across each other's paths. Some slow down. Others turn too late. On the destroyer, the Phalanx CIWS activates. The 20mm Gatling system spins up with a sound like a giant zipper, tearing through the air. It locks onto the leading boats and forces them back within seconds. Without the satellite feed showing them where our blind spots are, they are no longer part of a coordinated plan. They are exposed. The sky, which only moments ago was filled with streaks of light and incoming threats, suddenly feels open again. Quiet, at least for now. And all of it changed because of a beam of light. This is the new battlefield. It is no longer only about ships, aircraft, and missiles. It is about signals, frequencies, sensors, lasers, data links, cameras in orbit, invisible pathways that decide who sees first and who reacts too late. For a moment, there is relief across the fleet. The carrier is still moving. The destroyers are still in formation. The immediate danger has passed. But no one believes the story ends there. Because you cannot blind a lens forever. This worked today. But the next question is the one that should keep people awake. What happens when the next generation of satellites does not need to send information back to a command center on the ground? What happens when the satellite and the missile become part of the same machine? Imagine a future version of the Jilin-1 network with edge computing built directly on board. That means the satellite does not just collect images, it processes them itself. It recognizes the carrier, calculates the movement, predicts the next turn, and sends updated guidance straight to the missile while it is already in the air. No human delay, no exposed command center, no simple radio link for the EA-18G Growler to disrupt. The eye in space sees the target. The weapon adjusts in real time, and the decision happens faster than any person can react. If the eye and the fist become one system, then the question changes completely. Do we have enough light to blind 1,000 eyes at once? What happens to our fleet when the ocean is no longer a place to hide, but a stage where an AI in orbit can follow every move we make? The battlefield is changing. The shadow contract was not the final chapter. It was only the beginning. And that is what makes this future so unsettling. For decades, power at sea depended on distance, movement, and uncertainty. A carrier could disappear into the horizon, protected by the size of the ocean itself. But if space-based surveillance becomes constant, and if artificial intelligence can connect that surveillance directly to long-range weapons, then the ocean stops being cover. It becomes a screen. Every turn, every launch, every formation change can be seen, measured, and predicted. That is the world military planners are now preparing for. A world where hiding is harder. A world where seconds matter more than ever. A world where the next major confrontation may begin not with a visible strike, but with a silent contest over who controls the signal, who controls the image, and who controls the view from above. Disclaimer: this video is a dramatized scenario created for educational and storytelling purposes. Some elements are inspired by publicly available information about modern military technology, satellite surveillance, electronic warfare, and regional tensions, but the events, dialogue, timing, and character reactions shown here are fictional. This is not a factual report of a real battle or confirmed operation. Thank you for watching.